Uh, Basically, BNL SDCC, the data center, is a multidisciplinary data center across many different uh, scientific computing communities, whether it be nuclear physics, which is the active RIC experiments, uh, including STAR and S-Phoenix, which will be coming online in less than 18 months, or the future, whoops, I misspelled collider, the EIC. I'll fix the slides later. And that BNL and JLab are dual host institutions. The actual accelerator will be on the BNL lab campus. We also support energy physics computing. That's where the Atlas, for Atlas, we're the US Tier 1 center. We also support Bell 2 and get some large fraction of the Bell 2 raw data to store. And we also working Dune. We have also non-nuclear and HEP computing, whether it be the light source or computer science initiative. The reason I listed that was to show that we have to, each one of our communities has different token access and status needs. So in nuclear physics, STAR currently uses computing at NERSC and opportunistically on OSG. STAR is investigating using the Globus transfer service, used to be called Globus Online. They've been using tokens for a lot of years, like since the beginning. Also XRD to bring transfers back. They're currently using the Condor transfer mechanism on OSG to bring data back. So once that all works with tokens, I think STAR will be happy, especially if it can be semi-automatic. S-Phoenix, the data taking starts in about 16 months, and we're setting up a distributed computing system based on Panda, Rusio, and FTS. The use of tokens right now is undecided. It'll depend on how much offsite computing exists and where it has to get done. But as you've already seen from Fahui's talk, a lot of the bits from the service side are already covered. And for EIC, the current model is lightweight. There are no special tool used, and it relies on the OSG infrastructure. For Atlas, as you heard earlier, we already have a CE that has been tested, and we're upgrading all our CEs on site to handle tokens. And we will have to live with the X509 and token at the same time for a little while. We'll need to use for Atlas, the WLCG tokens. Storage, we don't have any plans yet, but we'll work with Atlas to make it work. Bell 2, we follow the lead of the host lab KK. At Dune, we need to use Fermilab tokens. So you can see I've already just mentioned in these two sides, 3 different token issuers that the same hardware is going to have to handle. So it's important we understand and test all 3 at once. For compute, we're upgrading, like I said, the CE to handle the tokens. We'll test with some Dune jobs. Storage, we're actually, for Dune, we've upgraded our Dcache instance and are beginning to configure it for the Finale issued tokens. And then, of course, we'll do it for the WLCG issued tokens only because then we can, what we learn there can be used other places. And we are starting to collaborate with Finale on some testing using Rusio and FTS to transfer data between Finale and Brookhaven. So in summary, my last slide, like I said, we're a multidisciplinary science center. Each community has different token deployment schedules and also different token issuers. BNL has been using tokens via Globus for a while. We need to support at least 3 different token issuers and maybe a 4th being us, depending on what EIC decides to do. And I see that there are already 2 questions. So I guess Brian first.
Yeah, so you have the mysterious line about KK. Do you understand what plans there are there? That's
Yeah,
definitely
we
one I
just
haven't
started
heard.
talking with them.
Okay. So
But we have to follow their lead. They are the host lab.
Yeah. Do you have a good understanding of what they're thinking, or?
No, not yet. We've only just started this discussion with them.
Would it help if some OSHE folks came from that discussion, or is it better to let you guys kind of peel back the first couple layers of the onion there?
I don't know enough of the relationship between KK and OSG to comment either way.
Yeah, I mean, we don't hear much. So anyhow, the offer's there. If there's something expertise or friendly faces can help with, you know where to find us.
Yeah, no, we'll gladly take you up on that, Brian. Wei?
So Doug, I will ask the same question I asked Monet. With all these tokens and the federated identity flowing, is there concerns at the DOE lab? And how do you deal with that?
Well, I was hoping we could grandfather in, but I think we're going to have a delicate conversation with our cyber folks, because we'll have to see if they will allow the same approvals that we did for X509 for tokens. We've already had the discussion with them on federated identity, which is a little independent of tokens, and gotten approval from 2 different DOE labs to federate, and we've already started testing that.
Yeah, so with the question I asked, one of the things I was thinking, since we already have some kind of agreement to allow the access through X509, I wonder whether we can shrink our footprint and fit these token things into that agreement, so that we don't have to generate a lot of heat from DOE.
Well, since we have one lab CIO on the call, maybe she can weigh in. Because it's way above my pay grade.
Well, you are doing that kind of things with Eric, right?
I know, but it's still, the discussions occur a couple levels up. I'm not trying to be evasive. We have to have the discussion with cyber, but I think as a community, we should basically show how this token stuff reduces the footprint.
That she cannot unmute.
Okay, I can now. Yeah, so it is definitely a delicate conversation. I do want to explore the idea with DOE that we've been 20-year members of the IGTF, the International Grid Trust Federation, and a change of technology should not abrogate a trust, right? It's just a technology. It's not a different set of people. So that's what I would like to pursue. I can't tell you if that argument's going to win the day, but having a trust federation is much, much better than having 7 billion people on the planet open to your resources, right? So, and that's most of the battle that I've had with the DOE cyber type people, is that they really want us to clamp down on anything that's public. And so I don't have evidence yet that they want to clamp down on science communities and their ability to do science. So I'm hoping for the best, but as Monet said, we haven't quite had those conversations yet. But I just told you my strategy on how to argue for keeping us. I wouldn't even call it grandfathering. I would call it just continuing the agreements we agreed to 20 years ago when IGTF was put together.
Thanks, Liz. That was helpful.
Thanks.
I guess next would be Ken.
Yeah, well, my only question was as to the contact point was it at KK?
Sorry? I didn't understand the three levels.
Yeah, sorry, I had some background noise. Yeah, just the question was just who was the contact point at KEK that you were working with? I guess it's early in the process. But.
It's Wade, the operations lead, I think, is Wada. But I'll get back to you with the details.
I just piggybacking on Brian's question.
Okay.
Brian, your hand is up. Is that older?
Oh, I put it down because Liz covered what I suggested. We shouldn't think of this as grandfathering, but rather a good, healthy conversation we need to have, right? Grandfathering, I worry, ends up with surprises that are nasty if people don't quite understand what you're doing. So we treat sometimes these conversations as not fun, but it's good to have it with the security folks.